Imagine a single football match carrying the hopes not just of a team, but the financial destiny of a global brand, and the future strategies of Europe's transfer market. That is exactly what's unfolding as Manchester City faces Fulham in the final game of the Premier League season. But here's the twist. While millions watch for goals, what's really at stake are billions in revenue, prestige, and the power balance of European football. Will money, technology, and opportunity determine City's fate more than the players themselves? It's easy to see football as a simple game, 22 players, a ball, and 2 goals. But beneath the roar of the crowd, modern football is a chessboard of global economics, hyper-intelligent algorithms, international regulations, and massive financial bets. Especially now, with the Champions League expanding and UEFA rules changing the very fabric of who gets to play, the stakes have never been higher. How did we get here, and what is now on the line for Manchester City, Fulham, and the Premier League itself? Let's rewind. The Champions League, Europe's crown jewel of club football, has long been both a sporting dream and the golden goose of revenue for football's elite. Historically, England's top 4 Premier League finishers took those lucrative places, earning not just the chance for European glory, but also a financial windfall. Participating clubs rake in tens of millions in TV rights, sponsorships, and prize money. For context, a Champions League run can add upwards of $100 million to a single club's annual income, money most teams cannot afford to miss. But the rules are evolving. UEFA's latest tweaks now sometimes allow a 5th English club in, thanks to the new European Performance Spot, or EPS. This is awarded to leagues whose clubs collectively excel in European competitions. For the next Champions League season, the Premier League has clinched this bonus berth, boosting their allocation to potentially 6 spots, an unprecedented opportunity, and a new layer of complexity as clubs scramble for every point. The pressure doesn't stop there. Victory in the Champions League or Europa League guarantees a ticket to next year's Champions League, irrespective of league finish. That means English teams have more pathways into Europe's biggest show, but also more competition for those precious seats at the table. Clubs are forced into a jigsaw puzzle of tactics and risk. A single result could open the door to millions, or bolt it shut, slamming their ambitions and budgets at once. This season, the Premier League has been a cauldron of drama. Liverpool surged to the title with games to spare. Southampton, Leicester City, and Ipswich Town tumbled down to relegation, and Tottenham grabbed the Europa League trophy, sealing their own Champions League place. But for Manchester City, every second now counts. Their 3-1 win over Bournemouth put them in the top 5, but the margin is razor thin. 2 points ahead of Aston Villa, just 3 clear of Nottingham Forest. One bad result, and the ripple effect could be seismic. Not only humiliating for Guardiola's side, but potentially altering their transfer targets, budget, and even coaching staff. As Ewan Ross Murray from Sports Illustrated notes, Man City should get the job done in the capital against Fulham. But in football, the word should is loaded with peril. Why is this final day so critical? It's not just about pride. The impact of missing out on the Champions League would shake the very foundation of Manchester City's business model. In today's football economy, Champions League participation can mean the difference between recruiting superstars or watching them sign elsewhere. The increasing financial stakes in European competitions will drive clubs to prioritize Champions League qualification, impacting transfer strategies and managerial decisions, reads a recent analysis from Sky Sports. Lose this game, and City could be staring at a transfer window without premium talent, massive sponsorship deals shrinking, and even questions about Pep Guardiola's future. And it's not just City feeling the heat. Fulham faces its own existential questions. With key players like Tom Cairney and Kenny Tate in contract negotiations, and others sidelined by injuries, the club's performance could influence whether they invest for another season of top-flight action or brace for a grueling relegation battle. For Fulham, spoiling City's party could be a rare moment of glory after a tough campaign, but also, paradoxically, a lifeline for bargaining better player contracts and sponsorships. This year, financial fair play, FFP rules cast a long shadow over everyone. Gone are the days when wealthy owners could simply inject cash at will. Clubs must balance their books, aligning spending with income to avoid severe sanctions, from fines to transfer bans to even exclusion from European competition. For a club like Manchester City, dancing near the FFP line means missing out on Champions League money could trigger a domino effect. Cutbacks, sales, and the dreaded prospect of falling behind arch-rivals domestically and in Europe. But if you think the outcome will be decided just by passion and grit, think again. Welcome to the world of predictive analytics. Ahead of the Fulham clash, the so-called Opta supercomputer has churned through thousands of simulations, measuring squad strength, injury lists, historical data, and even pitch conditions. The verdict? A 96% probability that City seals their Champions League spot. Yet, as the analyst at Opta notes, football is probabilistic, not deterministic. That 4% chance looms larger than people think. One mistake, one fluke, and the odds mean nothing. Simulations even run deep within the team's own planning. City's behind-the-scenes analytics staff, some of whom boast PhDs in mathematics, generate exhaustive models to guide Pep Guardiola's tactical choices. Should Haaland start up front after a minor knock? How much risk can they afford against Fulham's pace on the wings? Even the pre-match warm-up is tracked and optimized by biometric sensors, searching for any sign that a player isn't ready. The drama is heightened by the prospect of saying farewell to some of City's greatest icons. Kevin De Bruyne, the midfield genius, is expected to leave after this season. If this is his farewell game, the stakes feel even higher. Not just a race for points, but the closing of an era. It's not lost on City fans or management that the club may soon need to rebuild, and missing the Champions League could mean starting that process without the world's top replacements lining up to join. Over at Fulham, injury woes and contract uncertainties cloud preparations. Timothy Castagne, Rodrigo Muniz, Harrison Reed, and Rice Nelson are all battling knocks or long-term injuries. The club's hierarchy hopes that a strong end to the season might convince out-of-contract players to stay and signal to potential signings that Fulham remains Premier League material. As one club insider shared with The Athletic, a result here could change the conversation on everything: sponsorships, player deals, even ticket demand. On a broader scale, the rules of the game itself are in flux. The expanded Champions League format, rolling out for 2025-26, opens new avenues for ambitious clubs, but also brings greater risk of financial stratification. More games mean more TV revenue, but also higher costs, greater fixture congestion, and the constant gamble of spreading your resources too thin. For every winner, there's a club that bet big and lost, sometimes catastrophically so. As we approach kickoff, it's easy to forget just how much is riding on the outcome, and how in the modern game, technology often shapes fate as much as talent. EA FC 25, the latest football simulation powerhouse, ran its own virtual Fulham versus Man City, echoing the predictive mood: a dominant City win. In that simulated world, Haaland strikes early and often, De Bruyne bows out in style, and City cruises to a 4-1 win. But as any sports fan knows, real life offers no guarantees. The algorithms may favor City, but the ghosts of football, lucky deflections, last-minute goals, referee controversies, still haunt the pitch. Aston Villa, Newcastle, and Chelsea all lurk, hoping for a City stumble. One slip could see Guardiola's men tumble to 6th, their European fate snatched by the smallest of margins. Even a draw risks letting others leapfrog them, goal difference their only shield. In the tension of these moments, emotions run high. For the players, it's legacy. For the management, it's the culmination of years of planning and the financial lifeline for what comes next. For fans, it's the hope and fear wrapped up in 90 minutes. But here's the million-dollar question, the very dilemma football's new economy poses. Does control rest with the talent on the pitch, or with the money and machine learning off it? When billions are at stake, when opportunity is doled out by algorithm, analytics, and arcane UEFA statutes, who really decides which teams rise and which fall? With kickoff approaching, the football world holds its breath. Manchester City's Champions League dreams, Fulham's fight for relevance, and the Premier League's economic order will all be shaped by the drama to come. But if City fails to deliver, will it be the end of an era or the start of a bold, uncertain new chapter? But now, let's fast forward. Let's imagine both outcomes, the footballing butterfly effect that a single day in May can unleash. What happens to a club like Manchester City if they do, against all odds, fall at Fulham and stumble out of the Champions League places? And what unfolds if they triumph, confirming their status among Europe's elite for yet another season? The answers lie not just in the emotional roller coaster of sport, but in the intricate web of economics, strategy, and risk that defines modern football. On one hand, qualification all but assures stability, at least for another year. The riches of Champions League broadcast money guarantee that City's financial machine keeps humming. UEFA's victory payouts, new sponsorships, global exposure, all feed the club's insatiable appetite for growth. To miss out would cause a domino effect, cautions Opta analysts report, alluding to a potential loss of up to $100 million in direct and indirect revenue if a top club like City is absent from Europe's main stage. But don't think it's just about cash. Champions League status is now the golden ticket in the sporting arms race for talent. City's ability to attract and retain world-class players, like Florian Wirtz or Josko Gvardiol, hinges on the promise of midweek European nights. The best want the biggest platforms. Even Pep Guardiola, despite his tactical genius and club legacy, can only do so much if denied access to Europe's top table. Yet here's where the future intrigue deepens. If City stumbles, questions swirl. Would Erling Haaland, who seems born for the Champions League spotlight, accept a season without it? Would the rumored departure of Kevin De Bruyne be the first domino in a wider squad reshuffle? The financial squeeze, coupled with UEFA's ever-tightening financial fair play restrictions, could force City's hand, potentially selling off assets or delaying key signings, which in turn could trigger a rare but real period of instability. Expert Ewan Ross Murray from Sports Illustrated summarizes the stakes. This is about more than one match. It's about institutional momentum. Lose it, and you invite competitors onto your turf. But let's not forget Fulham. Their position may seem less glamorous, but for clubs outside the Big Six, games like this are a window to a brighter future. Upsetting City doesn't just alter the table, it transforms perceptions. It can galvanize a squad, convince owners to invest, and for Fulham's younger stars and those negotiating new contracts, serve as a springboard into the footballing stratosphere, or, at the very least, secure another year of Premier League survival. All of this unfolds in the shadow of unprecedented change in European football. UEFA's new qualification rules, the rise of AI-driven analytics, and the expanding Champions League format mean that today's certainties could be tomorrow's myths. For the first time ever, the Premier League could send up to 6 teams into Europe's elite competition, thanks to the European performance spot won by collective English strength. And yet these reforms only raise the bar for managerial planning and financial discipline. Here's where technology enters the equation. The Opta supercomputer gives City a 96% chance of qualifying, but numbers alone can't capture the tactical tweaks, the psychological pressure, or the volley that ricochets off a post in the 93rd minute. Football, for all its analytics, remains thrillingly unpredictable. The margin between fortune and disaster has never been slimmer. So, what lessons can we, fans, aspiring analysts, even non-football viewers, draw from this unfolding drama? First, recognize the interplay between strategy and opportunity. City's investment in data, in tactical flexibility, in global brand building, it's all designed to maximize not just this season's results, but resilience against volatility. In any competitive field, those who survive and thrive are not always the biggest spenders, but those who adapt the fastest to changing conditions. When UEFA shifts the rules, or when market dynamics evolve, the leaders aren't paralyzed. They pivot immediately. Second, see the importance of contingency planning. For every club, and indeed for every ambitious organization, it's not enough to have a single pathway to success. What if the star player leaves? What if an unexpected regulation appears? City's real achievement may be less about the starting 11, and more about the depth chart, the succession plan, the scouting network ready for tomorrow's crisis. Many forget, it was only a few seasons ago that City narrowly escaped a European ban over alleged FFP infractions, only to return, wiser and more cautious. Third, embrace the idea of embracing risk, calculated, not reckless. The biggest gains almost always require exposure to uncertainty. For Guardiola and City, the pursuit of perpetual Champions League glory means walking the tightrope of aggressive transfers, bold tactical shifts, and navigating the unforgiving spotlight. For Fulham, the risk in blooding youngsters or re-signing veteran stars may pay off, or backfire. But in action, in football as in life, is almost always the costliest option. What does this mean for you? Whether you're plotting your personal ambitions, managing a business team, or simply betting on your favorite club, the lesson is clear. Invest in adaptability. Build buffers against bad outcomes, but don't fear the unknown. Use data where you can, but respect the human factor. And above all, realize that today's result, however dramatic, is just one chapter in a long, unpredictable story. What looks like disaster in the moment can, with the right response, become the foundation for an even stronger comeback. We return then to our central question. If Manchester City falters, does it undo years of investment, planning, and legacy? The honest answer is, not entirely. Top clubs have become experts in crisis management. A single season may sting, but it rarely destroys. Yet, the consequences are real. Sponsorships wobble, rivals sense blood, and the internal pressure to evolve grows even fiercer. For Guardiola, a stumble now would force him to reassert his methods or, perhaps, accelerate the club's search for his successor. For City's board, the stakes would only reinforce the need to blend audacious ambition with pragmatic resilience. But if City wins, as most expect, they do more than just secure another round of Champions League nights. They signal to the world their staying power, the ability to withstand regulation changes, financial turbulence, and the psychological toll of fierce competition defines not just champions, but dynasties. Here's a secret that few outside the inner circles truly grasp. Much of a super club's advantage comes not just from spending, but from institutional learning. Every close call, every moment teetering on the Champions League edge, becomes a case study, a lesson absorbed into the club's DNA. Small clubs hope for miracles. Big clubs engineer them over and over, until fortune is less about luck than about preparation meeting opportunity. So, next time you watch those final minutes, a striker bearing down on goal, a coach gesturing furiously, a boardroom holding its collective breath, know that you're witnessing far more than a game. You're watching a rehearsal for future glory or future heartbreak. However tonight ends at Craven Cottage, the real story isn't about the scoreline, but about who adapts best to whatever comes next. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden battles shaping football's future, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss out on our latest analysis. Drop your predictions for the City-Fulham clash and your thoughts on UEFA's new rules in the comments below. And here's your secret tip. Keep an eye on how clubs are investing in backroom data scientists and global scouting, because in the next era, it won't just be the strikers or coaches who decide Champions League glory. It'll be the unseen minds off the pitch, turning chaos into calculation.